I'm 72 years old and I'm about to share something that might make you uncomfortable. Everything you believe about aging and success is fundamentally wrong. And here's the devastating part. The people who are supposed to guide you, your mentors, your family, society itself, they've either misled you or they never understood it themselves. See, I wasted the first 5 decades of my life buying into the same illusions you're probably chasing right now. I convinced myself I understood how life worked. I had the corner office, the mortgage-free home, the admiration of my colleagues. But at 50, an experience unraveled everything I believed to be true. And what I've uncovered in the 22 years since has fundamentally transformed how I understand life, mortality, and the time we have left. But before I reveal what changed everything, you need to grasp something crucial. I'm not recording this video to sound profound or position myself as some kind of sage. I'm doing this because my time is running out and there are truths you must hear before the opportunity passes. Not for my sake, for yours. At 50, I collapsed during my daughter's wedding reception. One moment I was giving a toast, the next I was on the floor, unable to breathe. I remember paramedics, sirens, flashing lights, then waking up in intensive care with monitors beeping around me and my daughter sobbing beside my bed. The neurologist told me I was fortunate. In fact, fortunate. I had just experienced a severe stroke that could have left me paralyzed or dead. And they framed it as good fortune, but you know what? They weren't wrong. Because confined to that hospital bed, forced into stillness for the first time in decades, I confronted something horrifying. And I had been sleepwalking through my entire existence. I wasn't truly living. I was performing, accumulating achievements, desperately trying to satisfy everyone's expectations but my own. And here's what terrifies me even now. If I had died that evening, if my brain had sustained irreversible damage, what legacy would I have actually left? An impressive resume? Some property deeds? A portfolio of accomplishments that would be forgotten before the obituary faded? Let me expose the most dangerous lie you're likely telling yourself at this very moment. And I have plenty of time. I'll pursue that dream later. When I'm settled, I'll finally start living authentically. I watch people in their 20 seconds, 30 seconds, even their 40 seconds, and they're all repeating this same delusion. When my income increases, then I'll find happiness. When I earn that title, then I'll slow down. When the mortgage is paid, then I'll explore the world. When I leave the workforce, then I'll finally chase what I'm passionate about. Let me spare you 5 decades of anguish with one brutal truth. That moment never arrives. You know why? Because the finish line keeps shifting. You secure the promotion and immediately you're eyeing the next one. You earn more income and suddenly it's never enough. You're perpetually pursuing something dangling just beyond your grasp. And before you comprehend what happened, you're 70 years old questioning how your life disappeared. I lived this. I spent 3 decades ascending a ladder, only to discover when I reached the summit that it was positioned against the wrong building. And you can't reverse course and begin again. Time refuses to grant second chances. Here's what nobody mentions when you're young. Achievement is a hollow destination. And I'm telling you this as someone who exceeded every target I ever set. I became senior partner. I acquired the dream home. I commanded the respect of my industry. And you know what? It meant absolutely nothing. You reach your milestone and for perhaps 72 hours you feel euphoric. Then reality returns. You're back to empty, Now you need another goal, a larger victory, deeper validation. It's a relentless cycle. I knew someone who passed away 4 years ago at 67, dedicated 80-hour weeks throughout his career, established an 8-figure company, never experienced a genuine holiday, kept promising himself he'd ease up soon arrived with a massive heart attack. At his memorial, his daughter stood up and said, as my father conquered everything except being present for us. Is that how you want to be remembered? Your regrets won't center on your failures. They'll focus on everything you never attempted. I don't stay awake wrestling with past business mistakes. Those are irrelevant now. You know what haunts me? The year in New Zealand I never experienced because work was too demanding. The bond with my sister that I allowed to crumble. The novel I dreamed of writing but never opened a blank page for. The moments I sacrificed with my daughter because I was chasing deals. These losses consume you. The unopened doors. The paths you never walked. The affection you never voiced. The leaps you avoided because fear held you back. The people who matter most, your parents, your family, your true friends, you assume you have infinite opportunities with them. You're wrong. And eventually that window closes permanently. My mother passed when I was 43. Our relationship was strained and I always convinced myself I was too overwhelmed to repair it. I kept believing we'd reconnect when my schedule cleared. That conversation never happened. Cancer took her in 3 months. And you know my deepest regret? Every Saturday morning, I chose sleep over visiting her. Every time I was too distracted to really listen, all those irreplaceable moments I traded for nothing. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. After my stroke, I transformed everything. Resigned from the partnership, started refusing commitments that added no real value. Started embracing opportunities I had delayed for half a century. In these past 22 years, I've discovered more truth about existence than I learned in my first 50. What truly matters is painfully obvious. Presence with people who matter, work that resonates with your soul, collecting experiences, not possessions, building memories, showing up fully. I realize it sounds simplistic. When I was your age, I would have dismissed it. Easy for you to say, but I have responsibilities. And yes, you absolutely do. I'm not suggesting you abandon your obligations. I'm warning you, don't sacrifice what's irreplaceable for what's ultimately meaningless. Here's a question I need you to consider, and I need complete honesty. If your life ended tomorrow, would you feel fulfilled by how you've lived up to this point? Not would your achievements sound impressive, not did you accomplish enough. Simply, would you feel complete? If the answer is no, then what exactly are you waiting for? What are you doing with your hours that's so critical that you're willing to bet your singular, unrepeatable life on it? I'm 72 years old. I've experienced relatively good health since that stroke, but each morning when I open my eyes, I understand that I'm living on grace. We all are, truthfully. But most younger people haven't grasped this yet. They believe they're untouchable. They operate as if time is limitless. It isn't. I have grandchildren, 4 of them, and when I observe them, I recognize the same destructive patterns I see in most people under 50. They're overwhelmed, they're worried, they're hunting for things that will never fulfill them. They're repeating my exact mistakes, and I attempt to warn them. I try to pass along what cost me decades to learn, but you know what? They can't truly hear me. Not because they're dismissive, but because they're incapable right now. They're caught in the chaos of building a life. They can't recognize the larger patterns yet. They believe their circumstances are exceptional. That wisdom from previous generations doesn't apply to their reality. That's exactly why I'm recording this, because perhaps just perhaps, if this message reaches enough people, somebody will genuinely absorb it. Somebody will choose a different path. Somebody will escape the regrets that plague people like me constantly. You're moving closer to your end. Nobody wants to acknowledge this reality, but your time isn't infinite. Neither is the time with people you cherish. Your parents, if they're still living, they're aging relentlessly. One day, likely sooner than feels possible, they'll be gone. Your friends, your partner, your kids, none of these connections last eternally. So, what's your move? Continue avoiding that difficult conversation? Continue delaying that journey? Continue convincing yourself there'll be time later? Or will you wake up this morning and start living with urgency? Because your clock is ticking. If I could reach through time and shake my 2-year-old self, here's what I would say. Stop performing for people whose opinions are worthless. Stop destroying your body for a career. Stop deferring happiness until someday. Stop waiting for external validation to live authentically. Start reaching out to your family more consistently. Start booking the adventures you fantasize about. Start pursuing the things that terrify you. Start declining commitments that deplete your energy. Start accepting experiences that nourish your spirit. And critically, start immediately. Not next month. Not after this deadline. Not when you're more financially secure or less busy or more whatever. Now. Because I guarantee you the ideal moment is a myth. Life will perpetually be chaotic and demanding and filled with justifications to postpone. But if you postpone, you'll wake up someday and discover you postponed your way through existence. I'm 72. With luck, perhaps 12 or 18 more years, maybe 25 if blessed beyond measure, likely fewer. And I've made peace with that because these past 22 years have been the most meaningful of my existence. Not because I've accumulated more wealth, because I've finally begun living with intention, savoring each moment, focusing on what genuinely matters. I've explored destinations I postponed for decades, rebuilt connections with my children and grandchildren, embraced passions I deferred, released resentments I carried, expressed love without hesitation. I'm more content now at 72 with limited time remaining than I was at 32 when I assumed decades stretched endlessly ahead. That's the paradox. When you internalize that time is scarce, you begin to truly exist. You stop squandering it. You stop delaying joy. You start manufacturing the perfect moments yourself. You face a choice right now, at this instant. Continue your current trajectory, chasing validation, postponing fulfillment, promising yourself you'll live later. Or wake up, recognize your time is evaporating faster than you comprehend, and the life you're planning to live demands to begin today. I can't decide for you, but I can promise you don't want to reach 72 drowning in regret over choices you failed to make. Don't squander 50 years learning what I'm telling you now. Absorb from my failures, live deliberately. Focus on what's irreplaceable. Stop postponing until someday. Someday is now. It was always now. If this truth lands, share this message. Comment below. Tell me what you're changing starting today. Subscribe because I have more hard truths to deliver and my window is closing. Time is disappearing. How will you spend yours?